Hello and welcome to Mad Dog Hobby, just a guy enjoying the hobby the only way I know how, on a budget, with coffee and a steep learning curve. Rough. I want to dedicate this video to Narcoleptic8982, who was the first one to point out my shitty resolution quality on one of my previous videos, so thanks to him we are now enjoying 1080p. Leave a thanks in the comments for Narcoleptic8982. And if you've got any constructive feedback that leads to the improvement of the channel, then please leave a comment and perhaps I'll dedicate the next video to you. But anyways, last season when GW released Gallowdark, they released some cool themed bases to match the board, but this season for Toon World, nothing. Silence, not even a Balrak rumour, at least not at the time of recording, so you know what that means. If GW isn't going to do it, Mad Dog will. Oh yes, let's make some cheap, easy Toon World bases for my Canoptek circle. I'm going to use similar materials as the bases I made for the Gallowdark, like these mesh pads for soil leakage prevention, for plant pots of course, not for incontinence, and instead of using the foam sheet, I'm upgrading to plastic card 1mm thick. I did use cable ties last time, but they don't exactly scream ancient Necron tomb complex, so I'll save those for the weekend. Looking at the Toon World board, I pick out a few areas I think will look interesting on a base. I plonk a miniature base on top and roughly gauge the bits I want to recreate. I start by trimming down one of the mesh pads. This will represent the drain detail from the board. I slice it cleanish with my knife, straighten the edges and fit it onto the base. A little more trimming to match the contour of the base and it sits nicely. Then I glue it down with way too much super glue, like flooded the mesh and sealed the holes forever, too much super glue, so before it sets I scrape out the excess with the same tool I normally use to unblock the nozzle of the super glue. Yes, I have a dedicated super glue unclogger and you should too. Next, I draw out the tile shapes onto the plastic card, thinking, oh yeah, easy, I'll just cut these out and slap them on. Wrong. Cutting the shapes with scissors bent the plastic card like warm lasagna, so instead I had to draw each tile individually. This works better. I could score a straight edge with my knife, snap off the excess, and get a pretty clean line. Scissors were only used for the angles because I thought that would be easier. After cutting a handful of pieces, I arranged them to match the board as best I could on the base, and to be fair, it looked pretty good, but this tiny section took ages, like long enough that calling this a quick and easy method feels like a bold-faced lie. Losing patience, I ditched the fancy angles and just cut rectangles to speed things up. Once everything was glued down with plastic cement, it looked a bit like this. Nothing too exciting here, but good enough. I undercoat the base black and immediately realise I can still see all the measurement marks through the paint. Pro tip, glue the plastic card on the other side if you don't want your mistakes immortalised forever. The plan now is to drown the whole thing in paint and hopefully my sins will disappear. The closest matches I have on hand are Caliban Green and Sybarite Green, so that's what we're rolling with. I start with 2 coats of Caliban Green, carefully avoiding the recesses. Then I paint the drain piece with 2 coats of Stormhost Silver, this time making sure to hit the recesses because apparently I like to keep things inconsistent. Next up, a wash of Rattling Grime, because frankly it's not a Mad Dog Hobby paint job without Rattling Grime. Yes, it's technically a contrast paint, yes, it behaves like porridge when you try to use it as a wash, but I want that patchy finish. It matches the weird shadowy ancient neon vibe of the Toon World board. Then I edge highlight all the green panels with Sybarite Green, which instantly makes them pop and matches the colours of the board quite nicely, I think. Back to the silver, I give it another coat of Rattling Grime because too much is never enough. And then a simple dry brush of Stormhost Silver to bring the shine back up. The actual board has this subtle shimmering effect where some edges catch the light more than others, so to mimic this, I mix a little white into the Sybarite Green and pick out a few select edges. Finally, I tidy up the rim with some black paint and just like that, we have a finished base. Not an exact match, but it all depends on how much time you're willing to spend to cut out plastic card. Turns out, I'm not one of those people, but it still does the job nicely. I can position the miniature in such a way that the true pattern is under the front of the model, and there we go. I want to take the time to thank all of my subscribers. Thank you so much, and wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. My videos have been a bit sparse lately because the Toon World took a lot more time than I anticipated, and Now it's Christmas and I'm staying with the in-laws, so there's not a lot of time to do hobby, but I've got loads of projects in the pipeline planned for the new year. So if you like half-assed projects and over-the-top conversions and weird hobby projects, then hit like and subscribe now. More Mad Dog Hobby coming in the new year. Ciao.